it's Miss Jersold. You might remember me from week 4. It's been a few weeks in between because now I suppose it's week 10, so I hope you are still doing okay and hanging in there with this distance learning stuff. So this week we have a lot on our plate, but it's going to be fun and it's definitely a little more up my alley. I love poetry and figurative language. So our objective for this week is describe the impact of word choice, imagery, and literary devices, including figurative language in an author's style. I want to let you guys know how impressed I am with you. If you're able to do this either on your Chromebook or on a laptop you already had, and you're logging on and keeping up with RPS at home, that is really, really cool, and you should be very proud of yourself for keeping up with your education despite everything that's going on. But I know your time is precious, so I'll try to keep sappy moments like that and personal tangents to a minimum. We have big goals for this week. Today's big goal is I can understand and identify what figurative language is and why authors use it. I can understand the concept of word choice. Just like last time, we have to start with defining some of the words in that sentence because, I don't know, if I read that and I wasn't really thinking about it, or just, whoop, what does that even mean? So let's look at that first big concept on our learning target, which is the word figurative language. There are 3 ways I want us to look at this so that we actually make sure we understand what this is saying. In order to know what figurative means, we need to know what the opposite of that word means. So go ahead and get out a pen and pencil and make sure you are ready to write some stuff down so that we can make sure we know what we're talking about. Great catch. I'm so glad you're paying attention. You do not need a pen and pencil. You need a pencil and paper or pen. Go ahead and write down this first word. It is literal. The root, L-I-T, means written, just like illiterate or literate or literature. I know you've seen this word before because it is very popular within our generation and generation below me, and we tend to use it incorrectly. So the word literal means representing the exact words of the original text. AKA, if you were to text me that you were on the way, I would say, she literally said, I'm on the way. Here's the proof. This next vocab word, figurative, means departing from a literal use of words, metaphorical. All right? That word metaphor is a big concept that's hard to explain, and hopefully you've heard or seen it before. But it essentially is comparing 2 like things that are not the same with similar characteristics to illustrate the concepts. You're probably like, what in the heck? Example, shall I compare you to a summer day? Summer day, you, bright and sunny, beautiful. Now we know that you are just as beautiful and bright and sunny as that summer day, and therefore we can have a more illustrated picture in our heads. I did not write that one. That was from Shakespeare. Back to the vocab. We've defined metaphor a little bit, just so you kind of know what that is, but trust me, it's a big concept. I don't think I mastered it for a long time, so if you're feeling confused, that's fine. Overall, figurative language is phrasing that goes beyond the literal meaning of words to get a message or point across. So I'm going to give you a few seconds to make sure you can write all this down, and then I'm going to give you an example of the difference between figurative and literal. 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 I keep saying that weird. Go ahead and hit pause if that wasn't quite enough time so that you can keep writing. Sammy is snoring in the background. Samuel. Okay, here's my big question for you. You've had a very long day of school. You were kind of short on lunch. You didn't really like what they were serving. Probably didn't eat that much. Then you went right to practice, whatever sport you're playing. It goes late. You are sitting, waiting, either for your bus or maybe someone to pick you up. And you feel that you could literally eat 700 pieces of pizza? Answer yes if you feel that you could literally eat 700 pieces of pizza. For all of you that answered yes, I would love for you to prove me wrong. That is your homework. Make sure you try it. However, the answer is no, because literally means exact. It means you are saying what you really, really mean, and you are not making it up or embellishing or illustrating or exaggerating it at all. There's actually a word for exaggeration of a concept. Hyper means more, and the word hyperbole means a vast exaggeration. To get your point across, I'm very, very hungry, so I literally could eat 700 pieces of pizza. No, you could figuratively eat 700 pieces of pizza. And that is the main difference between literal and figurative, is that one, literal, is exactly what is written, and two, figurative, is using some sort of device, whether that be exaggeration or metaphor or something that illustrates your concept, maybe makes it more clear for the reader. We've got figurative and literal down, but what we need to look back at our standard for now is the concept of word choice. All of these things that we do in language are not random. You're choosing specific words to get your point across, whether that be literally or figuratively. Especially in figurative language, that word choice becomes very important. So what do I mean by this? Imagine that a reporter has come to your English class and they're going to be writing a report on your English teacher. Your teacher walks in and starts the class just like this. How was your day? The reporter might write down one of two things. Number one, the teacher walked into the classroom and stood with her arms crossed, a look of extreme boredom on her face. She quietly asked the class how their day was without smiling. Number two, the teacher walked into the classroom and crossed her arms due to the chilly temperature. She quietly but cheerfully asked the class how their day was. Which one is a better teacher? I hope you said two. There is a tone and there is word choice that makes the person in number two sound better. Number one, they give a reason for the arms being crossed, chilly temperature. And number two, they say cheerfully when it describes her asking quietly, versus in the first example, without smiling, extreme boredom. That word choice changes the meaning of the text, and that reporter does it deliberately. We're going to look at some new, or old, to some of you, vocabulary in these lessons, all the way across this week. We already have figurative and literal, we have figurative language, and we have word choice. We added hyperbole on the side, we talked about metaphor, and soon, in the following days, we're going to take an extensive look at imagery, personification, automatopoeia, and alliteration. We'll leave the big one, metaphor, to expand upon for future weeks of school. The last time I saw you, we talked a lot about fiction versus nonfiction. But now there's a new genre that really uses a lot of figurative language. Fiction uses it too. All sorts of genres use it, but this one in particular uses a lot. Does anyone know what it is? You're right, it's poetry. We're going to look at some poetry to understand these concepts a little bit better. There are three main reasons, to me, as to why people write poetry. These three are represent life, explore life, and appreciate life. And figurative language can help the poet do that. They can help the poet explain that to the reader and feel things that you might not have felt otherwise. There's one more thing we're going to be doing this week, and that is completing a poetry portfolio. There's not going to be too much in it because there's only 4 lessons after this. But each day when we learn a new concept, I want you to do your best to imitate a poet that we read to write your own poem. Keep all of them nice and pretty in one place, and then you'll have that poetry portfolio at the end of the next 4 lessons. Alright, day 1 and your intro is complete. You know what is coming, you have an overview of your main learning target, and you're ready to kick into gear these next 4 days to really explore some of this figurative language concepts. Tonight, to kind of prep for tomorrow, I want you to check out Vocabulary's overview of figurative language. The link is RPS at home. And I want you to keep up with some of your independent reading with whichever book you have or choose. I hope you have a beautiful afternoon, and thank you for tuning in.